Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
They know the ins and outs of everywhere we're going. They will protect you. Horses, run! And they just like block. I was just like, what?
I feel like I got a great break on a used car. I thought that was a great quote.
This is war, Marcus.
He's going to the bathroom. Are you in his house, you little psycho? Oh, get out of there.
Look, it's a giant womb.
Yeah, no.
That's a big chill.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. How you doing?
What's up?
Nothing. I just thought we'd chill out today.
Wow. That's some segue.
All right. I try.
A big chill out? A big chill out, maybe? Wow.
Thought we'd have a nice big chill.
Hey, guess what movie we're doing?
Rocky?
Yes.
All right.
The boxing drama Rocky from 1976.
I believe it's 76.
Nice. No, we are actually doing The Big Chill from 1983. Let's hit the synopsis. Don't stop banging your cup on the table, Butler. And then we'll get into the facts, and then we'll talk about how Butler hated it. Right. Okay. So a once close-knit gang of friends, including an actor, a doctor and her husband, a Vietnam veteran, and a journalist, meet for a weekend after the funeral of their much-envied friend Alex, who committed suicide. The friends spend the weekend confronting the personal truths, sacrifices, and betrayals that have left them disenchanted. Each must contend with unresolved issues they have with Alex and with one another. This is a terrible synopsis.
It's not a great synopsis.
It completely ignores the entire theme of the friggin' movie, which is ridiculous.
I also like how they envied their friend Alex.
Yeah.
None of them envied Alex.
I mean,
at all.
come on.
Not a single one.
That's not a good synopsis. Don't shame on you, random film synopsis on Google. Terrible. All right. So The Big Chill has a runtime of 105 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $8 million. It came out on Friday, September 30th, 1983. Opening weekend, it did $3.6 million. And domestic or worldwide are the same. It did $56 million. So I would consider this a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Production company was Carson Productions and was distributed by Columbia Pictures. So I said it came out on the 30th. It went up against, in a wide release, The Lonely Lady, starring Pia Zadora, and Beyond the Limit. And then in a limited release, Brainstorm. You know what Brainstorm is about, Butler? Because I watched a trailer for it.
The title sounds familiar, but no, I do not know.
So Christopher Walken, and he has discovered a way for people to experience other people's brains.
Yes.
So basically, I've
never seen it, but I have seen
Strange Days, maybe a little bit of Inception. So, it was interesting. Anyways, I saw the trailer. I was like, maybe I'll try to catch that movie. Cliff Robertson's in that too. And Natalie Wood.
Okay.
So anyways, the week after, the 7th of October, you had a wide release of Never Say Never Again.
Hey, one movie I've heard of.
The movie romantic comedy. And then a limited release of The Smurfs and the Magic Flute and Never Cry Wolf. And the week before, the 23rd, you had a limited release of Eddie and the Cruisers and Educating Rita. You remember Eddie and the Cruisers you've heard of, right? No? Interesting.
Name sounds vaguely familiar, but no, I can't tell you.
It's about like Eddie and the Cruisers, a band that everyone thought was dead, and they were. No, really,
it's not ringing a bell. No.
Wow, it's pretty popular movie.
I mean, Smurfs and the Magic Flute, maybe. That's about it. This is not like Brainstorm, Never Say Never Again, and that's about it that I've heard of.
Smurfs and the Magic Flute sounds downright pornographic.
It does. I actually don't know if I've actually seen that. I know of the Smurfs, but I don't know if I've seen that movie.
So Big Chill was directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who has done Body Heat, French Kiss, Mumford, Silverado, Dreamcatcher, which is an episode we did, and I Love You to Death, which is another episode we did.
That guy I've heard of.
Yes. He also wrote this film along with Barbara Benedek. I believe I said her name right. Kasdan also was nominated for 2 Oscars for writing for Grand Canyon and The Accidental Tourist, but he has also written Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Wyatt Earp, which I'm sure everyone has heard of. Benedict has written Immediate Family, Men Don't Leave, and the 1995 remake Sabrina, which I actually enjoy.
That's a good one.
Cinematography was John Bailey, who has done Ordinary People, The Pope of Greenwich Village, In the Line of Fire, Nobody's Fool, an episode we did, and The Way, Way Back, which I believe is on our big list.
Yes.
Edited by Carol Littleton, who was nominated for an Oscar for editing for E.T. She also edited White Palace, Beloved, and The Truth About Charlie.
E.T. came out what, the same year?
No, E.T. is 1981.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't know.
Produced by Michael Schamberg, who was nominated for an Oscar for Aaron Brockovich, because that obviously was nominated for Best Picture. He also produced Gattaca, Django Unchained, and Out of Sight. So this cast is, I thought before I did this, I was like, oh, this cast is going to be long. It's not really. It's not our longest cast that we've ever done.
It's like a seven cast kind of thing.
Yeah. Tom Berenger as Sam. He is nominated for an Oscar for Platoon. He's also in Major League, Inception, Shoot to Kill, which is an episode we did, and Shattered, which I recommend.
Shattered is the movie that I saw the trailer of when we watched it.
Yes. And
I do want to watch Shattered.
Yeah, you should watch it. I remember really liking the movie. Now, maybe as I got older, maybe it doesn't have much of an impact, but I remember when I watched it, I dug it. Glenn Close as Sarah. She is nominated for 6 Oscars, Butler. Ooh. 7 Oscars, but never won. She's never won an Oscar. She's nominated for The World According to Garp, The Natural, Fatal Attraction, Dangerous Liaisons, Albert Nobbs, The Wife, and Hillbilly Elegy. And I apologize, not 7, 8, because she's nominated for this role as in The Big Chill.
Yeah, damn.
But we'll get to that.
That's crazy.
But we'll get to that later. We're going to have some fun there. Jeff Goldblum as Michael. He was nominated for an Oscar for, I don't know if he produced it or he was in it, but for a short film, Little Surprises. So he probably produced it. He also was in The Fly, obviously Jurassic Park. And
who did he play in Jurassic Park?
Ian Malcolm, which he's doing the palm thing in this movie. Did you notice that?
I did notice when he's with Chloe.
My note is like, oh, he's doing an Ian Malcolm right here.
Put the drop right there. Where do you think the drop's
He's preparing. He's also in Powder, if anyone wants to see Powder. Or you may not want to. William Hurt plays Nick. Obviously, William Hurt actually just passed away last month, which is makes me sad watching this film.
Yes.
Yeah. Rest in peace. He won an Oscar for Kiss of the Spider Woman. He was also nominated for an Oscar for Children of the Lesser God, A History of Violence, and Broadcast News. So well done.
He's also in Mr. Brooks, an episode we did.
He's also in I Love You to Death, an episode we did.
Yes. I always forget, like, he pops up. He's so good on I Love You to Death.
Yes. Kevin Kline is Harold. Harold is actually the husband of Sarah, Glenn Close's character, just to give you kind of like an idea of where these people
line up.
Yeah, exactly. He won an Oscar he's actually only been nominated once and won for A Fish Called Wanda.
He was also in I Love You to Death.
He did. He's in Chaplin, In and Out, The Emperor's Club, and The Starling, which is the Netflix film.
I don't know if I know that one.
It's with Melissa McCarthy.
That's why I don't know this.
Well, I will tell you this. That's fine because the movie's He's actually pretty good in the movie.
I like him.
He's a supporting role. Mary Kay Place as Meg. She's in the TV show Big Love, for fans of Big Love, which I am. She's in Private Benjamin. She's also in Captain Ron, which I completely forgot about, and The Rainmaker. Meg Tilly as Chloe. She was nominated for an Oscar for Agnes of God. She's also in Psycho 2, which came out the same year as this movie. So this was like her big coming out year. She's in The Two Jakes Butler, which is an episode we did, and Body Snatchers. JoBeth Williams as Karen. She was nominated for an Oscar for a short film On Hope. She's in Welcome Home, In the Land of Women, and a movie that everyone should watch, I hope, Poltergeist.
That's right.
And
you buried the body. No, you moved the gravestones.
You moved the gravestones. You moved the graves, but you never moved the bodies. Left the bodies. You never moved the bodies. Sorry. So Don Galloway plays Richard, who is the husband of Karen. He's not one of the friends, even though they. They reference Harold in that synopsis. So Richard plays the husband of Karen. He leaves after the first day. He's in Two Moon Junction and the TV show Ironside. And then Butler, I talked to you about last week about who was in it, but you wouldn't know as a big actor, but I'm sure you already read who was in it and they never showed his face.
I did indeed.
Who is that?
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner plays Alex
in an unreleased role.
Well, he's the body that they're dressing in the beginning of the movie, the opening credits.
You see his wrist with
his face. You see his wrist, you see his hair. You don't see his face because you see his hair, you see his clothes, you see his hands. At the end of the thing, you see the wrist. And I'm going to get to all that. So he was supposed to be in the movie. They actually shot, the last 10 minutes of the movie were supposed to be a flashback of them having a Thanksgiving dinner with him. And I guess for whatever reason, they didn't think it fit. They thought it kind of kind of changed the tone of the film and the theme of the film a little bit. So they basically cut it out, but to make up for him for that. So because Lawrence Kasdan obviously felt bad because he just it was probably going to be Kevin Costner's big break a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
To make up for that fact, he offered in the lead role in the movie Silverado, which pretty much launched his career, which is that's a pretty cool, like, little nugget of film history there.
Cut you out of your small little bit here, Dud, but
yeah, we're going to put you in this.
Big.
He's really good in Silverado because he's that wise cracking character. I don't know if you've seen Silverado.
I've seen parts of Silverado.
Yeah. Oh no,
maybe I've seen
Silverado. He's really good. It's like it's a Western, but he's like the wisecracking young cowboy, and he's got like the fastest gun kind of stuff.
Right.
Jeff Goldblum's in that too. Jeff Goldblum was a bad guy. Well, kind of a bad guy in that.
Really?
Yeah, he's like a slimy guy kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, no. Anyways, go watch Silverado. But we're talking about The Big Chill. So I have seen this movie before. You have not?
No.
Butler's never seen this film.
I did not know what The Big Chill was. I always thought it was like a Cool Hand Luke kind of a thing.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts as we get into it. Overall thoughts, I guess.
I would love to be in this movie.
That's one of the things I figured.
This movie is great. This is an actor's movie. This is a movie where if you're an actor, you're like, oh yeah, I want to be in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of watching this movie, I think that the beginning made me like bored to tears. And then once the big chill, quote unquote, started happening, it was interesting and drew you in. But I think the Alex stuff actually kind of draws it back. I almost think that there needs to be another inciting
What
incident.
stuff in the beginning was boring you?
Their lack of conversation with each other.
You're talking after the
lack
credit
of build up,
right? In the church, like
in the
that
church,
kind of stuff?
all that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
All right,
It takes a while to get to the actual chill where they're doing everything for the weekend. And I think that while they are introducing each character individually a little bit, I don't think they do a good enough job introducing certain characters, and maybe they focus on other characters more than they need to, where they could do shorter scenes that specify each character, but focus on some of the characters that you really don't get much of. Like there are like half the characters I had to learn to like, Sam right off the bat, Sarah and Harold, because obviously they're kind of the mains.
Mm-hmm.
Michael. And that's it. You really don't know. Meg and Karen and Nick are kind of just like, they're there. And Chloe obviously is not part of their friends group. It was Alex's girlfriend before he passed away. So, 50% of your characters, you don't really get a good enough introduction to, I don't think.
Well, this is going to be an interesting episode. So I think this is a movie that you probably need to watch more than once. Because there was stuff, not you, but in general.
But me in general.
There were things I was picking up in this film that I didn't really pick up before. Like the stuff with Nick, William Hurt's character. You learn about him through the conversations that he's having throughout the movie. You don't realize he's impotent until he brings it up.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And you don't realize that, you meet him and he's driving the car and he's popping the drugs and stuff like that. So he has a drug habit.
Yes.
He is not in a good place. You find out that he was a radio jockey because that's how Chloe says, oh, I used to listen to you out in San Francisco. Oh,
Yep.
You did. Okay. Stuff like that. So you kind of get bits and pieces of Nick as you go along. The character Meg, Mary Kay Place's character, she's obviously somebody who is a businesswoman who chose career over family, but now she wants a family and she wants to have a baby.
Right.
So that's kind of her, I guess, arc in this movie. But you keep referencing The Big Chill in terms of in the film. What do you think The Big Chill is in this film?
Once they hang out for the weekend. When the weekend starts, that's the big chill.
Okay. So I'm going to give you this note from Kasdan.
That's not what he thinks the chill is?
That's not absolutely what The Big Chill is. And this is kind of the theme of
I think I know what you're going to say.
So this is a quote from him. The Big Chill is about a cooling process that takes place for every generation when they move from the outward directed, more idealistic concerns of their youth to a kind of self-absorption and self-interest, which places their personal desires above those of the society or even an idea. Further, the movie's title refers to the cold world of adult reality. So there's like a 10 things I learned. The Big Chill is like a Criterion Collection website thing. It says, what does the film's title mean? Kasdan explains that The Big Chill refers to the experience of cold adult reality after leaving the warm embrace of true friendship during college.
Sure.
So one of the themes, this is interesting, and I don't know if we want to get into it right now, but one of the things I found fascinating about this is it's a group of people that have left college, and what do you say? They're like late 20s, early 30s. Is that how old we're saying these people are?
I think we're saying they're early 30s.
Yeah, we're definitely saying, because
they're all different in real life. They're all varying ages, but yeah.
Oh, sure.
I think they're all supposed to be, especially if we believe that Nick was in Vietnam, they're all got to be in their 30s.
Well, this is supposed to be obviously 83. Yeah. So if he went to Vietnam, yeah, you're right. So they're in their early 30s, let's say, early to mid 30s. And these are people, obviously, because when you're younger, you obviously have high ideas of how you want to change the world and you want to, whatever it is you want to do in some regard. You don't have a lot of money.
Well, they were all communists, obviously.
Well, they were all, I won't say communists, but they probably were.
They were all kind of that way.
Educator. I don't know. I guess
it seems to be based on their conversations, which is so cool and hip to put in your plays and movies. So I did not enjoy that part. I thought that was
which part?
That they were all like, oh, we went to college. We all thought we were like communist party. Like,
sure.
Oh yeah. Like that is so overdone with what the idealistic college student thinks. That is not what any idealistic college student really thinks.
A lot of
very few. Like I think that is a filmic representation of what every college student thinks. See, that is what every actor thinks.
But I have met college students that are like this. Like they're like deep in the trenches of, their ideals and how they, however they want to change the world, what they believe in, and they don't have any room for anything else. I understand that.
I don't know. I never met anyone like this. This is clearly something. Maybe it's
they're a close-knit group.
Maybe this is an age gap thing. But when I went to college, no one was like this kind of hippie bullshit.
Well, it's a different. We went to college in you went to college in the 90s,
in the late 2000s.
Yeah, that's different. That's not. This is they went to college during the 60s.
I never met any hippie change the world communist like college students.
They went to maybe you're 40 years removed from the 60s, which is during the Vietnam War, which is post World War II, which was
sure. Maybe that is every college student back then, but that removes me from it. That's my only thing. Well, that's fine. It didn't affect my viewing of the movie. When they just kept saying that, I rolled my eyes.
Well, I
get the ideology. Like I'm more.
See, I think you're missing. But see, then rolling your eyes is missing the point because.
I get that you're more of an idealist when you're younger. I get the point.
But my point, what I find fascinating about that is how, I think that's something that, I'm obviously older than you, and you're obviously, excuse me, I pulled up the chair. You obviously are experiencing some things that I experienced at your age, just in terms of life and stuff like that. And so what I find funny is that this is the baby boomer generation that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
These people right here. And I think that it's obtuse if people of the younger generation now, like millennials or Gen Z, or even younger, when they watch the movie, can't watch this film and just see like, when people say boomers now, it's always like a bad word because it's an older person, but it's like they were once young too. And they had it's a different world, but they still had that same mentality that younger generations have now. I just think I don't know. I thought that was fascinating that you're watching people
who end up becoming jaded
because they change, because how, you get responsibilities and you have life gets in the way and you need to take care. You end up having children. You have to make sure that they're, you start caring about money more. You start worrying about where your money is and how you save it and stuff like that. That's not something you worried about when you were younger because you didn't have any money.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I think that as people get older, everything changes. And I think it's not fair when people rip on boomers now. I'm sure there's listen, I'm talking about a chunk in the middle, not the exception to the rule, not the idiots on either. You know what I mean? Shut the fuck up. You know what? See, that's the thing. Like that, I know it's a joke to you and that's funny and I get it. And I don't take everything seriously. I understand that. But like, if you don't look back and realize that we all started at the same spot, we all were young. And we all had different ideas of what we want to do with our lives, and that changed and everything changed. If you can't understand the person that you're upset with or that you disagree with, let's not say upset, disagree with, then I think that's a disservice to you in terms of your own ideals at that time, at that moment where you are. I think it's fascinating that these are people now that people don't like because they're older now and they have a different view of the world, but they were the same. They believed almost in the same things. Keep in mind that it's a different world back then in terms of the 60s and now, you 2000s, even now, people now, and they're dealing with different things now. So I don't know. I just thought that was fascinating, the kind of the comparison that you could compare it, but that was it. That's my big thing. And we're done. So see, I didn't find the beginning boring at all. I actually texted my buddy, Adrian, about the opening credit sequence. And I said to him, this opening credit sequence may be one of the better opening credit sequences that I've seen in quite some time. And for a while, because it explains everything. You may not meet the characters in terms of knowing exactly what they're about, but you meet them.
I just don't like that they pick and choose. You're not supposed to have a main character, and yet you pick and choose 3 out of your 7 to be your main.
Well, who are you saying are the mains?
the ones that you actually show off, like you show off Sam, Harold, Michael, and Sarah. Everyone else is secondary in this, in terms of like what you show before what I consider to be them chilling, or the big chill with when they hang out.
Right.
Like you own like 3 out of 7.
Well, to be fair, Tom, like I did these are in order. The credits are in order of alphabetical order. So there's no real, like, Tom Berenger doesn't have top billing. He has top billing because his last name begins with a B. Right. But Tom Berenger's a big star back then. Like now, you know what I mean?
I get that, yeah.
I don't know. I think because Harold and Sarah were taking care of Alex,
taking care of him. They host the place. They're definitely kind of your mains in the fact that they're anchoring everything.
Sarah had an affair with Alex 5 years prior.
Yep.
And that kind of, began Alex putting up the wall between him and Sarah. She mentions that ruined their friendship.
Yep.
Even though they kind of gave into their desires. So, and it's almost like they're the married couple. So maybe, like you said, they're the parental units in the family. They have the 2 kids, like you said, one kid. No, they have 2 kids.
They have 2 kids.
Yeah. So yeah, they're further along in their adulthood lives and everyone else. I think like when Nick comes in, Nick is somebody who's clearly been lost. This is the William Hurt character. Yep. He's in trouble, and Nick is
the most in trouble because even Chloe says, you remind me of Alex.
And he says, I'm nothing like him.
Exactly.
But again, really, he's going to stay at the end of the movie, he's going to basically, Michael and Sarah are going to help him. Harold and Sarah. Yeah.
And he's staying with Chloe and he's
right. So he's somebody that it's almost like they take in the wayward souls of their group. I have not had a close knit group like this, like a 7-person close knit group. I have not experienced it either, but it's out there. I know that those are out there. I don't think they don't exist.
Yeah, where they sleep with everybody. Well, with everybody.
Well, you got the idea that so basically Nick and Karen were together in college, but Sam and always loved Karen, always liked Karen, always wanted to be with Karen, and I guess she kind of felt that way. I guess the distance of time. Kind of, she wanted to be with him, and that's the whole purpose of their whole
she
arc
ended up
in
with
this.
Richard, and Richard is such a not even like theoretical, like he is a mayonnaise on white bread with milk kind of guy.
That's my note. My notes
so milk toast.
My note: Richard is so white he eats mayonnaise sandwich with milk. Like that was my thing. I'm like, ugh, I like nothing about what you're doing here, Richard.
Nothing could be lamer than this.
And
guy.
The audacity to just spew out about like talking about how he thought Alex would kill himself.
Funeral? Yeah,
when he talks about how he thinks Alex would kill himself, why he killed himself. Maybe no one told me it was going to be easy, which is an interesting point he's making about how life's not supposed to be easy. And no one said to me it was going to be easy. And maybe that's why Alex killed himself, because he assumed that it was going to be an easy, fun loving time. Yep. I thought that was interesting. Almost like Richard he's clearly older than the rest of them.
He gets what's going on.
Right. And he's probably, he knows they'll never be close with him, and they'll be friends with him because he's at a different point in his life.
Which is why he leaves after the first day. He's like, I'm going.
Which I like that, because I love when Michael comes down, which is the Jeff Goldblum character. And he's like, Richard left. Oh yeah. He's like, really? What happened? He's like, listen, Michael, if you're going to sleep late, you're going to miss these little mini dramas. That's the other thing. So I really like this film. I'm sure you know this already. And one of the things I like about this film is the dialogue. I love a lot of the lines.
As much as this is an actor's movie, this is a writer's movie as well.
Sure.
But that's because that's what Lawrence Kasdan does.
Oh no, totally. Like I laughed out loud when Karen is talking to, I don't know, is it Sam or Michael? Maybe Nick, when she says, the last time I spoke with Alice, we had a fight. I yelled at him.
Oh, right.
And he's like, that's probably, Sam, he's like, that's probably why he killed himself. What was your argument about? I told him he was wasting his life. I was just like, started laughing.
A lot of like the dark drama, like comedy is really good in the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Let's get into some of the facts a little bit. So I have other facts here, and then we'll get back into the story. Maybe we'll get into some character work, because we'll break down the characters. We talked about this movie a long time ago, and I don't remember I know when we talked about it. When we talked about the guy who fudge. When we did Lone Star, John Sayles. We talked about Return of the Sea Caucus 7. I think I talked briefly about that with you, right? Or I watched it.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So the Return of the Sea Caucus 7 is actually very similar in tone to this film. It's about 7 people who came off an exit and got arrested, or they were anti-war. I can't remember, but they were friends, and they split apart and they come back together. There's a note on Wikipedia that says that Kasdan watched this film and then wrote the movie based on the film. He never saw this film. That's what he says. This is based on his own experiences when he went to the University of Michigan.
Okay.
So I thought that was one note that I was just like, it was like a conflicting note there, but we're going to play the Oscar game here.
Okay.
So I told you that Glenn Close was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. This movie was nominated for 3 Oscars. Best Supporting Actress for Glenn Close, Best Picture, and Best Original Screenplay. Butler, I'm going to give you the Best Supporting Actress nominees. You're going to tell me who won. I'll give you the movies there too. 1983.
Okay. Well, 1983 Oscars.
1984 Oscars for 1983. Okay. Best Supporting Actress nominees. Linda Hunt for The Year of Living Dangerously. Cher for Silkwood. Alfre Woodard for Cross Creek. And Amy Irving for Yentl. Who won the Oscar over Glenn Close?
Yentl?
No, Linda Hunt for The Year of Living Dangerously.
That was good.
Did you ever see that movie?
No, I know of the movie.
Yeah. She plays a boy, right? Am I that wrong? She dressed as a boy in that?
Sure. I don't know.
I think so.
Like I said,
I think so. That was with Sam Waterston. He's a journalist. I never saw it. I should see it. Anyways, Best Original Screenplay. Butler, we're going into that now too.
Okay, go for it.
So it obviously did not win. It went up against Silkwood, written by Nora Ephron and Alice Arian. War Games, which I did not realize that was nominated. Yeah, Walter Parks. This is Best Original. Walter Parks and Lawrence Lasker. Tender Mercies by Horton Foote, and Fanny and Alexander by Ingmar Bergman.
Tender Mercies?
Yes, correct. That did win. And now Best Picture. Here we go. It did not win Best Picture, but it was nominated, and it went up against The Dresser, Terms of Endearment, Tender Mercies, and The Right Stuff.
Terms of Endearment.
Yes, correct. Terms of Endearment did very well there. Yes, good job.
Although The Right Stuff is really good.
Right Stuff is fantastic. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so all right, good. That's our game.
All right.
We'll go.
I did okay that time.
Did you know that this house was the same house they shot The Great Santini?
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's cool.
Kasdan was a fan. This is shot in Beaufort, South Carolina. Well, it was shot in different other parts of the country, in Atlanta, I believe. And then they shot the house stuff at...
was Atlanta a popular filming location even back then, or just because this movie's the South?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Felt like that was like more
as
recent thing.
Popular as it is now, maybe not, because it's like its own...
It's like the tax break thing. Now it's like...
Well, kind of
East Coast.
It's its own little mini...
Almost.
Yeah. Well, Marvel's based pretty much. That's where they are most of the time.
So many movies are there.
Yeah. So no, I don't know, but that's a good question. Did you like the fact that the main cast lived together for weeks before filming?
I did that. They kept rehearsing as they moved around 3 weeks beforehand. I also like to note that they did a dinner together.
Yep.
Where they're supposed to improv as basically their characters having dinner.
Yep.
Not part of the script. Just be your characters and eat dinner. And Kasdan walked out of the room and they left. Character.
He left the house.
Yeah. But yet they kept character the entire dinner, didn't break character. I thought that was awesome.
And I think they said, I think it was something in there where JoBeth Williams plays Karen, wouldn't talk to Sam because she was still in love with Nick. Like she was doing that in her.
Which is great, which is awesome. And that's the kind of method acting that I think is great. That actually helps your character.
It's rehearsal acting.
It's rehearsal. Yeah. It's not.
It's knowing your characters.
No, it's knowing your character. It's pretending again. It's not trying to like think that you are this person. Mm-hmm. But I think that helps you understand your character even more. Mm-hmm. Even if when the director gives you opposite notes, you can at least be like, I don't think my character would do this. And you can have a conversation with the director on why you think that. And then, he or she can tell you you're wrong or right. Mm-hmm. And obviously, at the end of the day, it's the director's decision. But I think knowing your character helps a lot, and it would help the director in terms of how the scene's going.
Well, yeah,
and just make it easier. Just make it so much more natural.
One of the notes I have here is that Kasdan would time out scenes to run a certain speed to avoid letting them run too long because he didn't like cutting down scenes. So he would actually time them out to make sure that they were a certain length.
Right.
As an actor, would that bug you? Do you think you could, like, if you wanted to have a space, a pause, or?
I don't. It depends, because I know he also did a lot of improvisation on it.
Yeah.
So if I was just sticking to a script, obviously it's what the director wants. Mm-hmm. I will hit that mark. If I have to hit that mark, I will do my best. But if it's improvisation, that would piss me off.
Okay.
Because it's like you want me to be myself and put myself in this role, but then you also want to put that limitation of me going, no, that's too long. Mm-hmm. That would kind of bother me.
Well, maybe it's certain scenes in the film he timed out, but like the scenes when they're just kind of milling around, or the funeral scene, or even the scene at the end of the film, they're just kind of like chilling in the kitchen.
Oh, in the morning when they're having breakfast together.
So I mean, that might be just stuff like, maybe there's one or two lines he wants to make sure, but it's going to be a scene that they can just play with.
Sure, hit these lines, but I'm going to cut you guys off for 5 minutes. that'd be a little different. But if he was just like, all right, guys, go for like dinner scenes and stuff, I'd be like, you can't. Like, I don't know. If I've got an idea and we're rolling with it, that would kind of piss me off. Okay. Unless he just let me do it a bunch of times until we hit a mark where he thought was a good length.
I mean, I would think that the actors would have, because they spent so much time together before the movie, that they probably knew their characters well.
Oh yeah, they
very comfortable.
Didn't need much time in order to get the conversation going. Right.
And with Kevin Kline, there's a lot of times where you can see Kevin Kline coming out in his roles, like you can see like the
Kevin
person.
Kline, like the kind of thing going on. Yeah.
In this, I did not so much. I thought he was really reserved. There were some moments, but not as much. Times.
Yeah. I know he wanted to play Michael because Michael's a funnier character.
He would have more fun with it, but he's definitely a better Harold.
He's got a couple of moments as Harold, like with the bat is swooping around and he gets up to his wife. He sings Indiana Jones.
Well, he does that because Kasdan wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. Right. That's why he's singing that.
But he's very Harold. He's very Kevin Kline in that. He's very Kevin Kline when he's about to have sex with Meg.
When they're sitting? I thought that was very sweet. I thought it was very sweet,
but it's very like kind of Kevin Kline being like a cute kind of funny.
Right.
Like him trying to get ready, moving his hair around and stuff like that. I thought that was more Kevin Kline.
That decision. So what Butler's talking about in the movie, we talk about Meg is trying. It goes around and keeps asking all her friends to have sex with her.
She's ovulating, but she doesn't want a father.
This is actually done in a very nice way. It's not like crass or anything like that. Right. It's very. That's how close these friends are. The fact that she would ask them and they would even like consider it.
Right. Yeah. They all think about it.
Right. And it's funny because Sam, the character of JT Lancer, well, he's JT Lancer in the show, but the Sam character is supposed to be Magnum PI. That's basically what he's based on. Sure, Kasdan wrote a little bit for that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He did that because Tom Selleck was going to be in Raiders of the Lost Ark and he wasn't, if people don't know that. But so anyways, so when she's talking to Sam, and you could easily, Sam has some lines where he could easily be like a Hollywood douche, and he's not. He's sincere.
He hates Hollywood. He hates all that.
He hates all of that. I think one of my lines here that he had. Where is it? I want to.
Where he can't trust anyone. Everybody want something from him.
It's just like that's still the same way. Like you can't trust anyone in Hollywood and stuff like that. It's like it's still the same. Well, I thought that his character was very interesting. I was very interested in Sam, but even when she asked Sam and he's like, I want to, but you don't want that. I can't. It's such a responsibility. Even though you don't want anything from me, it's still a responsibility.
Right, exactly.
And I thought that was a very good. She asked Nick, and Nick can't do it because he has to tell her he's impotent.
Nick was the first one. Yeah. Nick was in
right. And so she was with Michael, which is the Jeff Goldblum character, in college, and she knows, and she doesn't want to ask him. He's the one person she doesn't want.
He's the last resort.
Right.
And then he asks, and then she's still like, no.
Yeah. And so basically Sarah asks her husband, Harold, to do this for her. She wants him to do this for her friend. And I'm wondering, do you think that decision is because she cheated on him with Alex?
100%.
Do you think so? Or do you think it's because she knows that he's probably the right person to do it?
100%.
You think so?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I don't think if she hadn't had an affair with Alex, she would not let Harold do that. But
I don't know, man. They're really close.
She had an affair with Alex. And Harold still loved Alex. And Harold still loved Sarah. And she knows that Harold's a great guy. And she knows that Harold would never betray her. And is that trust in Harold? It's that trust that Harold has in Sarah, that forgiveness he has, and her love for Megan and Harold's love for Meg. And it's just like, I know that this is just going to be a one night thing.
Right. So
you have a baby.
So you're saying that, just to kind of clarify, you're saying that decision by Sarah is because of the devotion and the love that Harold has for her and everyone, and even throughout everything, not because she's like, well, I cheated, you might as well go. Not that way.
No.
Okay.
I think that is a part of that is the key to unlock the door.
Right.
But that the door was made, if to make the example, out of all of the greatness of Harold, that Harold is the most put together of everyone in the group. He's the one that grew up the best. Even though he's giving everybody insider trading
he is
tips. Yeah, he's going to jail. He's going to jail big time.
No, I know. His company's about to get bought, and he's telling everyone, hey, buy stock, you're going to get rich.
Triple. Yeah. My note is, I wish I had a friend who would tell me stock's going to triple.
Honestly, right? Right, honestly. So, speaking of the actors and the actresses, one of my notes here is, and we'll get into what I want to ask, is that Kasdan wrote Karen Bowens and Sarah Cooper for JoBeth Williams and Glenn Close. He wrote them both for them, but they didn't want to play them. They both wanted to play Meg, which is who Mary Kay Place plays. What do you think about? First question is, what do you think about the casting? Do you think anyone was miscast?
It's hard to see Jeff Goldblum as a character that's not Jeff Goldblum.
I understand. Well, that's him.
He's got mini Jeff Goldblums in this, but I still like him as Michael. I just like Jeff Goldblum. You could put Jeff Goldblum in anything, I'd watch it. I even watched his stupid Discovery Channel show. It's awesome. Tom Berenger is amazing as Sam.
I think Tom Berenger is really overlooked sometimes. I think he's forgotten
so do
about.
I think people think of him as like this action kind of guy.
He looks like that kind of guy, but he's got a lot of stuff
much deeper than
that. Absolutely, 100%.
I think William Hurt's amazing as Nick. Kevin Kline's great as Harold, and I'm glad they didn't switch roles. JoBeth is good as Karen, but Karen, I think it's the short end in terms of stuff to do a little bit. Like, obviously she's in love with Sam and she wants to leave Richard. But I feel like
she's bored. That's what he says to her. I left my other marriage because I was bored. I was
bored of it. I think that her subplot is a little bit more boring and more normal than the rest of them. So I think that's what that suffers from.
Sure.
Is it actually being more realistic? I think
there's realism in Sarah's,
But that's it. Sarah's plight of
I'm sorry.
upset.
I meant Sarah. I meant Karen's. I meant JoBeth Williams' character. I think
Karen's is the most realistic. That's what I'm saying. But that's why it's kind of boring, is because it's a real person's problem. Sarah's obviously upset about Alex, and Meg just wants to have a baby from her friends, which is a little weird. It's a little more fun. And I think that could be why they wanted to switch roles. But I think Glenn Close is Glenn Close, I think, is overlooked as like up there with what's her face that always gets nominated. Meryl
Streep.
Yeah. I think Glenn Close is up there with Meryl Streep. Like, Meryl Streep gets nominated for everything she does just because she's Meryl Streep. Although Meryl Streep is amazing. But I think Glenn Close is up there with Meryl Streep and doesn't get the recognition.
Well, she's been nominated 8 times. She's never won. That's all.
Girl needs to win.
She's
awesome.
Good enough to be nominated.
I know.
She'll probably get a
Lifetime Achievement.
Yeah,
which is actually kind of better, because who gets Lifetime Achievement? Very few people.
Well, they just gave Sam Jackson one.
Yeah. I'd rather have a Lifetime Achievement than a Best Actor award. That's awesome.
Well, she was definitely, maybe she doesn't want it. Maybe they've offered and she says, I don't need it. Some people, I think they probably.
Glenn, you're gonna have to rub some. I'm not kissing anybody.
Probably, maybe.
She's awesome in this role. Her scene where she's crying in the shower and she's naked is so. What's what I'm looking for? Vulnerable. It's depressing to look at. It's depressing to see. It's depressing to hear. And then you lead up to it. And it's just like, oh, damn.
See,
but realistic and
see, a scene like that, which I agree with you. But my one thing, and maybe this is because I'm not an actor, but a scene like that is you're alone. You can get yourself into that moment. I'm thinking about preparation, and that's it. You're just crying. You're just upset. I actually like the scene when she's at dinner. And that was going to be my second example. She's talking, she's crying, everybody's laughing. And she has to just go into it. Like, she just has to show that she just is normal and then breaks down.
There should be a table here for Alex. Right.
I think that scene was just shows you the strength of Glenn Close.
But also, she's not normal in that. She's not talking during that dinner at first.
True, you're right.
She's quiet the whole time.
But she has to play off, and she has to be in her own space while everyone around her is giving her nothing in terms of like to help her into that space. She has to just kind of go into herself amongst this giant scene. I think to me, that seems like a tougher thing to do.
I don't know. She is naked.
I get
which
you.
Is tough.
Sure. And there's like 85 dudes in there
watching. And you know that you're going to be watched by millions of people afterward.
Sure.
And you're going to be crying. And it's not like she's sexy naked. She's really depressing naked.
Okay.
And I think that's just really powerful as well. It's a really powerful thing to do.
I'm not saying it's
both
not.
Things are really powerful. And just her in general, like her conversations with her kids are also awesome. Like the one where like, you can hate me if you want. When you're a mom, you can hate me. Okay, I love you too, baby. It's like, those are absolutely conversations I had with my mom growing up. Like, that's perfect. That's great. I think she does an amazing job as Sarah. But I can see them all wanting to be Meg, because Meg's just more fun. I just want to have a baby. And she gets kind of more dialogue with the other guys in terms of less heavy stuff and just a little bit more fun.
To be fair, you can't give all 7 actors or all 7 characters the same gravitas or same giant arcs. They can't.
Oh, I get that.
You know
yeah.
It's not, it's all their stories, but maybe it's it's how Alex affected each of their lives, and in terms of just what he meant to all of them. Even though that he committed suicide, they're not all put together well. They all have issues. They all have problems. Yeah. They're all struggling with being an adult. And we talked about that already in terms of, everything, the reality of the big chill, all that stuff. We kind of talked about all that.
They're all rich yuppies, even though they grew up trying to be against the system.
I don't know. They're
not really yuppies,
all rich.
Well, Michael has money.
Michael's looking for money.
He's looking for money, but he's well off. He's living in the city. They're all well off.
He works for People Magazine, a job he hates. Right. And he lives in the city, which is probably very expensive. Berenger's, Sam's very well off. Yeah. But he's in a world where it's full of phonies.
It's full of phonies, and he just lost his marriage and lost his kid, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
He keeps talking about how his daughter thinks that his wife's new person is like the other father.
Right.
Nick's definitely doesn't have money.
I mean, you were meeting Harold and Sarah after they had their big crisis, which is the stepping out with Alex.
But that was 5 years prior.
No, you're missing that, and they're in a place where
they're in a very safe, loving, happy place now. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really do much with it in terms of kind of diving into it a little bit more, but the whole point where the officer comes over because Nick was speeding, or he was giving
Nick ran a red light, and then gave the officer attitude,
and he was like, since when did you be? Nick tells her, when did you become friends with cops?
That's one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, like all that stuff. So he
stopped my house 2 times from getting pinched, and
from getting robbed. He's good people.
He's good people. I live here. I'm dug in.
Yeah,
I grew up.
So that they kind of, that one scene kind of highlights the difference between Harold and maybe the rest of them.
Right.
But they didn't really go further into that. Harold has a nice monologue too. When they're all sitting down, he's laying on the couch, and I think he's just basically talking about, he doesn't know why Alex killed himself or anything like that. He's just kind of like talking about, he brings up, I believe he brings up the cheating. I don't think not in front of all of them, but he has this nice monologue where he's just talking about it. And I thought that was really well done. So, but you never really got that. You kind of know where Harold is in his life, but they didn't really dive too deep into that. But I don't even know if they needed to.
No, one of the things I like the best about this movie, and this talks to Kasdan's writing, I think if you ask me who my favorite film writer is in terms of dialogue, I would either say Kep or Kasdan. Mm-hmm. And I think Kasdan is probably the best, because I think Kep probably learned from Kasdan, because I think every modern writer should have.
Sure.
Especially the males, but everybody. Every serious conversation in this film is peppered in with jokes and sarcasm.
Because that's what life is.
And that's exactly what life is so perfect.
Yeah. So how's your life? Oh, great. How's yours? Not so great. Oh, we're telling the truth.
Yeah. I think that's so great. Like when they're running and they're all just saying like about Alex, what's the, he didn't kill himself on purpose. It was an accident. Yeah, it was an accident. He was right. He was just shaving. He always had hairy wrists.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, oh, why do we have to joke about everything? Oh, that's a joke. I'll joke about that. Like,
that's life.
It's perfect. Yeah. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. I agree with you, because while there are lots of scenes in films that I love, and there's lots of dramatic moments and melodramatic moments and really like great lines of dialogue and great moments in cinema that I really love. But to be honest, that stuff doesn't happen in real life.
At the end of the day, it's all about sarcasm, hiding your emotions.
It's very difficult to your point. It is very difficult to write dialogue that seems easy. It's, you know what I mean? That it's like, oh, that's easy to write. It's very difficult to write that kind of dialogue. And that takes a lot of, you write it, you read it out loud. You write it. Is that how people talk? Is this how people talk? And it's a lost art. And I think a lot of people think that they need to be like, nobody has giant monologues in films and in real life. Right. Nobody has, and they're never well put together. Nobody has these like big moments and, no wire hangers ever. Nobody has that in real life. It just doesn't happen.
Yep.
And so I think, but those are very easy to write. I shouldn't say very easy, but those are easier to write than maybe what you're talking about with Kasdan, where it's like he's writing dialogue that seems easy, but it's not easy to put together.
I'm sure he writes what he wants his characters to say.
Mm-hmm. He's honest.
I know he writes everything long form, which is ridiculous because he doesn't know how to type.
So does Woody Allen, but I know that's boohoo.
Boo on Woody Allen.
But he does. But I hear you. But he writes the same thing. He writes on a yellow pad, or he used to. I know he's much older now.
But like you got to write things like big conversations like that. Write it like you were going to write it melodramatic, and then listen to it and go, where would I hide
100%.
sarcasm there?
100%.
Like that's, but that's awesome.
Your first draft should be whatever. Your first draft should always be whatever. And it should be terrible. And it will be terrible because you should not write a first draft of anything and be like, done. You need to just spill it all out and then fix it. That's how it is.
But I think that's how you have to write like sarcasm. Like that's how you have to write realistic dialogue.
Oh, absolutely.
You still have to get your point across, which in real life, you don't always get your point across correctly. Mm-hmm. So get your point across in your script and then find a way to get your point across without getting your point across, which I think this film does 150,000. Like, I don't know why we didn't watch this in film writing class in college, because this is film writing 101 in terms of writing a drama. But there's so many times you laugh and smile and have a ton of different emotions, which is life.
Well, the mark of a great movie, I think, is that when the movie ends, you don't want it to end. You want to know what happens. Like you want to see these characters continue on with the journey. That for me is what I felt at the end of the film, where I was just like, I would love to know. It would not have pained me. It might not have been as good, but it would not have pained me if like 5-10 years later they'd done a sequel to this.
No, but I would love a big chill now.
Well,
40 years later, like 30 years, 40 years later.
Here's the thing. That would be great. It'd be really tough to watch without William Hurt. Yeah, that would be tough because I'd be like,
maybe that's what now brings them together.
I'd watch it. I'd watch the hell of it. I love this film. I really love this film for a lot of the reasons you're talking about. The dialogue, the acting, I've echoed this before in other films, other movies that we have talked about. When there is such a confidence in the filmmaking of this film, when, you know what I mean? When the people behind it, the actors, just the writing, directing, there's just a confidence by everybody. I just feel like watching the film is never a mistake. I never feel like I'm wasting my time watching this film. Like I could go back and watch it again because there's so many moments in there. I'm just like, this is just, it didn't feel long, even though it's not that long, but it didn't. It felt too fast for me. Like I wanted more.
I feel like it's a perfect length. I didn't feel it was too slow or too fast.
I mean? Yeah.
And I think it ends in the perfect moment, but there's William Hurt is amazing in this film as well.
I liked everyone in this.
Like when he's talking to himself on camera.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I haven't watched enough William Hurt. I'm sure I haven't watched enough William Hurt. But anything I've ever watched him, he's very stalwart and stoic.
You're talking about later William Hurt, like as he was older?
When I was born up till now, yeah.
Yeah, you haven't seen like the earlier stuff.
I hadn't seen much of the earlier stuff. So like he's very vulnerable. He's very emotional. He's very different than the William Hurt that I've seen growing up. And I thought that was really interesting and really cool.
I would recommend going back and watching a lot of his earlier films, Kiss of Spider-Woman, just stuff where he's a younger man. So he's probably doing a lot more, taking a little more chances, like you say, being vulnerable. I mean, when you get older, I think maybe there's a little bit of a typecast that happens in Hollywood in terms of an older actor. And you know what I mean? Like Bruce Dern. We like Bruce Dern.
But he always plays very similar
now he's always like a jerk off, older character. And it's just like, I know I know he can do other stuff, but that's just what they're cast as, and you just take where the money is.
Right.
So I wanted to bring up something else so I wanted to get your take on Roger Ebert's, analysis.
All right.
The Big Chill is a splendid technical exercise. It has all the right moves. It knows all the right words. Its characters have all the right clothes, expressions, fears, lusts, and ambitions, but there's no payoff. It doesn't lead anywhere. I thought at first this was the weakness of the movie. There also is possibility that it's the movie's message. He gave the film 2 out of 4. What do you think about that?
I agree with everything except for the rating, I guess. It doesn't go anywhere. These characters end up in this mostly the same place, but in a better headspace than they were before. Same place, better headspace.
That's the payoff.
But that's the payoff. It doesn't have to be a huge payoff.
The fact that they're in the kitchen exchanging numbers, saying like, "Listen, we need to get back in touch. We need to catch up a little bit, and you believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
like they're hanging out again next Memorial Day or something, trying to get together. I absolutely believe that would happen. So, I mean, he's like knocking the movie while saying exactly what the movie is.
See, here's my take on the movie, or one of my takes on the movie is that I think that it's a type of movie that when you watch it, you almost have to ask yourself questions about yourself and your place in this and in your life in terms of why do you not like the film? Why do you like the film? Like,
oh, absolutely.
What are you relating to? And I think it's very difficult for people to self-analyze and understand like, shit, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not I have the same feelings as maybe I am bored in my marriage, like stuff like that.
Somebody's one of the characters. Right. And that's a fact. And whether you're exactly like that character, you probably share an issue that one of those characters has. Right.
And I think that maybe that shades, we talk about not bringing your own personal issues into the theater when you watch a film, but it's very difficult to do and not to do. You know, people do it. And that's how they relate to films. I think maybe this film, touches on some tender points in people's lives where maybe they're not willing to face that yet, because we just talked about how Kasdan writes real people and writes, the way he writes effortlessly to capture how people are feeling. And I think that's probably goes to his strength in terms of why people maybe why Roger Ebert wasn't into it as much, or maybe he missed the point, but just didn't understand it.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's, I like that. Tom Berenger describes this film as being about the period in life when you're beginning to realize you have limitations, that you will never accomplish certain goals and dreams. Suddenly, you're not a kid anymore. What do you think of that?
I liked that than the other explanation than Kasdan's explanation about the movie. I actually had read that and I was like, that's a little closer and easier to digest. Yeah. Realizing you're not a kid anymore. Your dreams maybe not your dreams. Like your dreams maybe aren't what you thought they were.
What Kasdan says is pretty much the same thing that Berenger's saying.
Pretty much the same, but yeah.
The poster blurb is ridiculously long.
It's a quote from the movie.
But that's not a poster blurb.
No, I know. But then he says it in the movie and I'm like, oh, that's...
No, wait, hold on. What's the poster blurb you have?
What's the poster blurb you have?
How much love, sex, fun, and friendship can a person take?
Yes.
The story of 8 old friends searching for something they lost and finding that all they needed was each other. The big chill in a cold world. You need your friends to keep you warm.
The how much love, sex thing. That's a Kevin. That part's the Kevin Kline.
Not the rest of the stuff.
And then the rest of it's just made up for me.
Yeah, the rest of the stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
In the cold world, you need your friends to keep you warm.
But you know what? We need that back because no one else does it on posters anymore. I need a poster that's a paragraph explanation that doesn't actually tell me anything about the movie.
I don't need that, so we're good.
What was the other one we did? Oh, what was the longest one?
Oh shoot! Wasn't it? It was an 80s one.
It was the one with the alien one.
The alien one, nice. Starman.
Starman. It was Starman.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Nice
I got
job.
you there.
Nice job.
That was the longest one, but that's also really long.
Give me some of the lines you liked in the film, or quotes.
This one made me laugh when Harold and Meg are about to have sex, and she laughs and he goes, "What?" I can't say it because it's not going to come out the way I mean it. And he goes, "No, go ahead, try me." And she says, "I feel like I got a great break on a used car." I thought that was a great quote.
One of the pieces of dialogue I like is between Michael and Sam. And Michael's like, "I don't know anyone who could get through the day without 2 or 3 juicy rationalizations. They're more important than sex." And Sam's like, "Oh, come on, nothing's more important than sex." "Oh yeah? Ever gone a week without a rationalization?" I was like, nice.
I do like when they're talking to Chloe about like the blood. Oh, must be. We cleaned it up. Like the blood.
I know.
Cleaned it up. Like because she's high off her ass, obviously.
2 things about Chloe is one. I thought she was going to rip her leg off when she was stretching. And she pulls her leg all the way.
Well, apparently she was a dancer before.
Sure, but I thought she was going to pull her leg right outside of her hip like a Barbie doll. I was like, "Whoa, stop!" It was giving me anxiety.
I wonder after reading the note about her if that was because she was a dancer growing up.
Sure,
and she was like, "I'd love to kind of add it to my character as like kind of a way to like make up for the fact that she can't be a dancer anymore."
Maybe. Well, she's younger too than all of them, and she's
right,
different ideals, I guess. She's
different headspace,
which I'm surprised they didn't really use a lot of. They maybe there was a disconnect because she's the girlfriend of Alex, and she's somebody maybe they feel like they need to take care of. And
well, I think she's there to kind of observe the group from the outside. So when you need an outside observer, you cut to her, and that certain thing she reacts to in a way that either you would react to or a way that kind of shakes up the group think.
Well,
obviously she's there for oh my God, what's his name? She's there for Nick at the end.
Yes.
Like she is there to help Nick because Nick is, like she says, Nick is the closest to Alex.
Yeah. And she also has that line of dialogue where they're all talking and Sarah's like, talking about how she didn't know Nick. She know Alex was very happy. That she, she had no idea that he felt this way. And then Karen asked Chloe, she's like, is that true, Chloe? Did you feel that? And she's like, I don't know. We had some good times. I haven't met that many happy people in my life. How do they act? And everyone's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So I thought that was interesting too. I thought that was a really nice line. And like play with dialogue there.
I like the line where all of a sudden she blurts out in the Jeep, Alex and I had great sex the night before he died. It was fantastic. And then Nick goes, well, he went out with a bang.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Michael's line as well for the funeral. Amazing. Yeah. They always throw a great party for you the one day you can't come.
The one day. Yeah. That's a. I mean, I've heard that before, but I think it's from this movie. You know what I mean? Like I've heard that in other films. But it wasn't, they were after this film. So I think they probably just kind of like took that a little bit, or people kept saying that like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
So now my last question I want to ask you was, what do you think about Kevin Kline's accent?
Oh, at the beginning, I started to get used to it, but that's my very first note for the movie. Is Kevin Kline doing a really bad Southern accent?
I guess.
And it just
goes in and out.
It absolutely goes in and out.
Yeah. I didn't understand.
I got used to it after a while, but I was not a fan.
Yeah. I wonder if that was him. I wonder if he's like, I want to do a Southern accent to Kevin.
Yeah. We're from South Carolina. I want to do South Carolina accent.
You didn't need to have any of that because he could have just moved down there from Michigan. Be like, oh, we set up camp down here. The
preacher didn't even have an accent.
Yeah. I kept hearing it, kept popping. It was so faint though. It was just so like, oh, wait a minute. He's doing a little thing there. It wasn't so overt.
Sometimes it was pretty heavy.
I didn't see. I just would hear
sometimes
it.
It was Southern preacher heavy, and then sometimes it was just kind of like normal, and then sometimes it went back to Southern preacher heavy. It was like all over the place. And it must have been a choice because Kevin Kline is an amazing, amazing voice actor, and I know he can do 1,000 accents. So I'm sure it was on purpose, or as early in his career, so he didn't know.
We went through all their credits, and everyone here got nominated. The only person that wasn't nominated for an Oscar was Mary Kay Place, but she won an Emmy. I think it was for Big Love, but she won an Emmy, so she's accredited as well. So it's everyone in this cast is just majorly talented.
Yeah.
Even if this is the beginning of their career or during their career, they all go off on to do amazing things. Maybe, I don't know Meg Tilly. I'm not really sure. I didn't follow Meg Tilly's career too much, but
she does some stuff.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the main 7, the original Friends.
Right.
So yeah. No, I mean, why are we saying this is forgotten though, Butler? Now that we've just sit here and talked about how we love it, or I love it, and you kind of.
It's old and it's a talkie.
Old. Well, yeah. It's
an old talkie filled with actors that no longer blow up the screen. William Hurt is a huge actor, but unfortunately he just passed away. Jeff Goldblum's a great actor, an amazing actor, and he is so overshadowed by the person he has become, which is a great person. It's a fun person. But
they're all in their last.
If you said Jeff Goldblum was in a movie like this, I'd been like, Jeff Goldblum was never in a movie like this. It's Jeff Goldblum. But if you do think about Jeff Goldblum, you think of you think of Ian Malcolm, or you think of Independence Day, or you think of The Fly.
You know what's funny?
You think of my stepmom's from
The
Venus.
Fly was 1988. Late
80s, yes.
But he did not take off until Independence Day and Jurassic Park. When he became
Goldblum, yes.
Right. Like he wasn't everywhere until then.
After The Fly, he was in that movie where he was an alien or whatever.
Oh, Earth Girls Are Easy. I think he did that before The Fly. But The Fly is a great film. But The Fly is like a horror film, and when you're in horror films, even when you do well in horror films,
it doesn't
really translate sometimes. Yes. Right. It's tough to cross over from there. He could have easily been typecast into other horror films after that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but when you look through his career, and that's because doing this movie, I was doing that. I'm like, wow, and he was in Powder as well. I remember him from Powder before.
But again, Powder's post Ian Malcolm as well.
Is it post or before?
Post.
Okay. But he didn't really take off until Jurassic Park. And I don't, thinking back, I never realized that. So,
some people find their perfect character. And I think
sure.
Jeff Goldblum's a great actor. And he stuck to, obviously the reason he does the and everybody imitates him because a director a long time ago, our casting agent, loved that. and he took off with it. A lot like William Shatner did with his pauses, is because a casting director loved his pauses, or because he couldn't remember the lines in Shakespeare.
There are not many character actors.
Yes.
There are very few character actors out there. People that can just dive into a role and just disappear. So no, most actors bring who they are to the role, and we love that for them half the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you know, when it works and it plays well, and they choose the right roles and they choose the right movies, and they're, you know, yes, it works fantastically.
And that's what Ian Malcolm was for Jeff Goldblum. So that's what you're thinking of when you think of anything post Ian Malcolm. Independence Day, Ian Malcolm. If you really want to go back to Fly, but that's what you think there. William Hurt, any of his later stuff. Again, like I think of William Hurt as the stoic kind of guy. And then Glenn Close is, like you said, 8 times nominated. There's so many other things that you think of her. If you think of the 80s, you probably think of Fatal Attraction. If you're my age, you probably just go, she's the lady from 101 Dalmatians, or she had that cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, I knew her from Fatal Attraction, The Natural, which I told you was nominated in. Yeah, I remember those are the 2 films. And what's funny is like I had never seen Fatal Attraction growing up, obviously. Yeah. But she cooked the rabbit. She cooked the rabbit.
That's when growing up. That's all I knew.
You heard. All you heard was
Bunny
that.
gone.
Right. All you heard. And then I watched it later on. I was like, all right. I mean, okay, I've seen it. So yeah, no, you're right. That's really what you know of from her.
And then other ones, JoBeth Williams. I mean, I love
Poltergeist. That's where you know JoBeth. But everyone knows her from that.
And Mary Kay Place. A lot of people my age.
You know what's Mary? You know what's funny when you go back and watch films and you're like, oh, okay, oh, that's.
Oh, I watched her thing. Yeah. She's in a ton of stuff.
Like that's like Big Love. She is the mother of Bill Paxton in Big Love, and so she's like, you know, she's married to the father that he hates and stuff like that. Big Love's a really good show. You should check it out. But yeah, once I saw that, like, oh, all right. But then I forgot she was in Captain Ron, so she's in a ton of stuff.
Tom Berenger is Tom Berenger, but again, people my age and younger. They're not big Tom Berenger guys.
How many people?
And again, when they think of Tom Berenger, they think of like the action Tom Berenger.
Well, here's the thing. How many people they think of Major League? How many people?
True too, yeah.
Because like, you know, what's funny is
that's the first thing I think of.
Do you know, that's the thing. It's like when you think of sports movies and baseball films, you think of Major League, right? That's
Major League's the first baseball film.
The first baseball film I think of is Bull Durham. And that's just because I'm older. That's just, you know what I mean? Anyways, I love that movie. Anyways, what percentage of people do you think realize that Tom Berenger was in Platoon? But also how many percentage of people have even seen Platoon?
Anyone who's 45 or older has probably seen Platoon.
Hey.
Anybody who's 45 and younger only saw it if they're in film school.
I would say that I would
or
probably say younger. You've seen Platoon. Have you not seen Platoon?
I didn't see Platoon for a long time.
But you saw it?
In college.
Okay. Did you see Full Metal Jacket in college as well? What did you see first? Full Metal Jacket or Platoon?
Platoon. Followed by Full Metal Jacket. Right. Pretty much the same year, I think. Before that, it was like Saving Private Ryan and stuff like that.
I was gonna start going to the Vietnam films.
Then I watched Thin Red Line, and I hate Thin Red Line.
That's a different film.
I understand.
Hamburger Hill.
Never saw Hamburger Hill.
Really?
I haven't seen many Vietnam
Casualties
films.
of War. Really? Casualties of War. Yep. That was like Michael J. Fox being serious.
Oh, I've seen some.
Sean Penn.
I've seen some of that.
Yeah.
So I call it like the
Platoon is a really good film.
Platoon is great.
And Full Metal Jacket's good.
Full Metal Jacket's really messed up, but yes.
Full Metal Jacket's really messed up, but it's funny because everyone always remembers the D'Onofrio character and all that stuff at the base, at the camp.
And don't remember the rest of them.
It's like, there was another second half of the film, which is amazing, but yeah.
But again, if we're talking about why it's forgotten, why this movie is forgotten.
I can talk movies all the time. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
It's the lack of...
It's older.
It's older and the fading, I don't want to say fading star power.
No, they're not
these
fading.
People have been in so much that the older stuff fades and the newer stuff is what's shining brighter.
I think it's an organic forgetfulness. I don't think it's anything.
It's not that they faded away. It's that their other stuff grew because this is a cast of all amazing actors who do so many other things afterward.
I would say I would agree, and I think that I think that people that have seen this film, I hope they enjoyed it. If they haven't, I say go back. I mentioned it before and I wanted to mention it again. I really love the opening credit sequence. I know I got away from it. I thought it introduced all the characters well. I thought it told you why they were getting together. I love the song, and I love the final shot of the wrist because it tells you, okay, this is how this guy died.
I did want to point out the songs in the movie. I love that they played them during the movie.
Yeah.
So that instead of the volume just being turned up. The actors are actually talking over the music.
Well, he had them talk loud so that he knew he was going to put music in.
So it sounds like they're actually talking
Right.
over the music that they're playing, which is natural, which
Right.
in most movies, they just talk.
Right.
And the volume happens to be up because they're syncing the movie in later. And I thought I read the note first as I was watching the movie, and then the dinner cleanup scene happened. And I was like, you know, I never really thought about it in movies. This is so much more natural and organic than in other movies that play music over it. I thought that was great.
I mean, sometimes they actually play music as they just play it while we're
so
doing it, and then just dub it in after. But yeah, sometimes they do that as well.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, again, I like this film quite a bit. I didn't necessarily have the same hangups you did, which is fine.
I don't have that many hangups. My hangups didn't affect that. I think this movie is very, very good. I think this is a fantastic film. I just have certain issues. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's great.
Well, is anything perfect? What's the perfect film? Tell me a perfect film. Exactly.
Every movie has issues.
Right.
This podcast is about pointing out things. So
it's about appreciating film.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Before we close out.
Okay.
At the very beginning of the film, everyone's affected in Alex's death in a different way or find out about it. Well, Harold is washing his son. Sarah comes into the room and takes a phone call that Alex has died.
Right. Well, they're not at the same house.
Okay.
They tell him that he was staying at their house and they were away.
They were away at the time.
Right.
And then came back to the house.
Right. And he did it in the bathroom.
That answers my question then.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We're good. I was confused about that. I was like, would she have just called up or ran up screaming that Alex died? Okay.
They were either at they were at their parents or they were at another home, like a vacation.
So I know the kids were staying at the parents' house.
Right. They kept them there. Yeah. And they had yeah.
That makes more. Okay.
Yeah.
That answers my question.
See that, because to your point, when she's crying, it's like, I assume that's where he did it when she's in the shower.
Oh, okay.
That's what I assumed.
In that same shower.
Right. Because I don't think it was where the cabin is, because I think they were fixing that up. Yeah.
I just maybe thought that the basement had its own.
They were just taking care. He was hanging out with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Same. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So where can they find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. While you're there, check out all the other great podcasts and videos and stuff that we have there for you. And you can also check us out on wherever you get your podcasts. Like we said at the beginning, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating or review, subscribe. All that helps to make our channel grow. And check us out on the lobby on Facebook, where you talk about the movie. How many other people saw The Big Chill? How many people love it? How many people who are under 40 like it or have seen it?
Hopefully a lot. So join us next week. We're going to be going to 2014. We're going to do a recent film. We're doing The Drop, starring Tom Hardy and James Gandolfini. And I don't know if you never saw it.
Never saw it, but I wanted to. I believe this is his last film, right?
I don't know. It's towards the end. Yeah, it's near when he passed away. So which kind of sucks. But again, we're gonna do another film where I'm gonna be depressed about who passed away.
Yeah.
All right, that is next week. Until then, everyone have a great rest of your week. I am Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler,
and this has been Forgotten Cinema.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Elise.
Hosts of Crack One Open with Mike and Elise.
A podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every Friday, we choose a new craft beer from a different brewery and talk about
the history of the beer,
what's in it,
how it was made,
the history of the brewery,
along with tasting notes and more fun facts.
After that, come chill with us as we bring you the latest in pop culture news and reviews.
So check out Kraken When Open, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.